Have you ever been there? It is late at night, the house is finally quiet, and you are sitting in your favorite chair. Your mind starts to wander back to a conversation you had earlier that day, or maybe a few days ago, with a woman you really felt a spark with. You remember the way she laughed and the way she looked at you, but you find yourself stuck on one big question. Was she feeling it too? Or was she just being nice? It is a question that has kept many good men awake at night, wondering if they missed a chance or if they were just seeing things that were not there. Today, I want to help you clear up that confusion. I am going to share with you 3 very small, very quiet signs that a woman is already feeling a deep interest in you. These are not loud signs. They are not like a neon light flashing in the dark. In fact, the third one happens right under the noses of most men, and almost nobody notices it until it is too late. Hello, and I am so glad you have joined us again. We are a group of caring experts who spend a lot of time thinking about how people connect. Let me tell you, so many men feel this way. They struggle to understand the quiet, almost invisible signals that a woman gives when her feelings are starting to grow. Before we get into the details, there is something very important I want you to hear. If you have ever spent hours replaying a talk in your head, wondering if she liked you, or if you have ever walked away from a moment and only realized much later that you might have missed something big, please know this. It does not mean you are clueless. It does not mean you are awkward, and it certainly does not mean you lack confidence. It simply means that no one ever took the time to teach you the language of how women show interest. And that language is very different from the one most men are used to using every day. You see, men and women usually feel that first pull of attraction in very different ways. For many men, attraction feels very direct, like a straight line. You notice someone you like, you feel a strong pull toward them, and you want to move toward that feeling as fast as you can. It is like seeing a beautiful view and wanting to run right to the top of the hill. But for many women, that feeling of being drawn to someone unfolds much more slowly and in a much more subtle way. It is not a sudden jump forward. It is more like opening small, delicate doors one at a time and then waiting patiently to see who is paying enough attention to notice them. Women often test the emotional air in the room first. They watch. They create small moments. They look for a sense of safety, a sense of curiosity, and a feeling that the interest goes both ways before they ever let their own feelings move forward. If you watch very closely, you will see something truly fascinating. Women almost never shout their interest. They whisper it. Those whispers show up in the way they move their bodies, in tiny behaviors, in the way they look at you, in the sound of their voice, and in how they choose to stand or sit when they are near you. These moments are so quiet that if you blink, you might miss them entirely. But once you finally understand what you are looking for, something wonderful happens. Suddenly, you start to see patterns. Situations that used to feel like a big puzzle start to make perfect sense. Moments that used to slip right past you now start to stand out as clear as day. That is exactly what we are going to talk about today. But before we go further, I want to ask you a very personal question. Have you ever looked back at a moment from years and years ago and suddenly had a light bulb go off? Maybe you realized, oh, she actually liked me. Maybe it was a person you worked with who always seemed to find a reason to stop by your desk just to say hello. Maybe it was someone at a party who stayed near you much longer than they needed to. Maybe it was a woman who laughed at your jokes just a little bit more than anyone else in the room did. At the time, you probably just brushed it off. You told yourself she was just being friendly or polite. But later, you wondered. If that has ever happened to you, I want you to know you are not alone. This happens to millions of men all over the world. The reason is not a lack of smarts. It is just that most men were never taught how to read these quiet signals. So, today we are going to slow down. We are going to look very closely at 3 of the clearest whispers of how a woman shows she is interested. These are not big, dramatic movements. They are not loud statements. They are quiet signals that show her feelings have already started to grow. When you start to notice them, the way you see every social interaction will change forever. Now, if you are finding this helpful already, please take a second to let us know you are listening. It helps more people find these talks, and it lets our group of caring experts keep sharing these deep thoughts about how we all get along. Let us start with the very first signal. The first sign that a woman might be feeling a spark is something very simple, but very, very powerful. It is touch. But I am not talking about just any kind of touch. I am talking about those little moments when a woman touches you for no big, obvious reason. This is not the kind of touch where someone accidentally bumps into your hand in a crowded hallway. It is not a quick pat on the back like a boss might give you at work. It is something a bit different. It is on purpose, even if she does not even realize she is doing it herself. People who study the brain sometimes call this starting contact. When that feeling of attraction starts to wake up in the brain, the body often looks for tiny ways to close the gap between two people. Touch becomes a bridge. Think about this. You are standing there talking to a woman. You are both laughing about a funny story. As she replies to you, she lightly touches your arm for just a moment. Then, she leaves her hand there for just 1 second longer than she really needs to. It is not long enough to feel like a big deal, but it is just long enough that your brain catches it. That tiny pause matters so much. That extra second shows that she feels comfortable with you. And feeling comfortable is the very first brick in the wall of attraction. When someone feels nervous or uneasy around you, their body tries to stay far away. They keep their arms crossed or their hands in their pockets. They stay guarded. But when a woman feels curious about you, when she feels warmth, the body relaxes. The walls come down, and touch starts to show up. Sometimes it is very small. She might fix your collar and make a joke about it. She might tap your arm while she is laughing. She might put a hand on your back to guide you through a busy room. None of these things on their own are a big shout, but together they tell a story. Let me share a story that shows this so well. A man once told me about a time at a friend's birthday party. He was talking to a woman he had just met, and they were getting along great. They talked about music, they told travel stories, and they laughed a lot. At one point, she reached out and brushed something off his sleeve that was not even there. He thought she was just being helpful. Later, she touched his arm again while she was laughing, and then again when she was making a point. Each time, it only lasted a second. He did not think much of it at the time. Months later, they saw each other again through friends. While they were talking about that first night they met, she said something that shocked him. She said, "I kept touching your arm because I wanted to see if you felt the connection too." He had missed every single sign! This happens way more than you think because most men are looking for loud signals. But attraction is a quiet thing. There's some really cool research about this. Scientists who study how people like each other found that when we feel a romantic pull, we often copy the other person's physical closeness. We lean in a little more. We turn our whole bodies toward the person we like. And yes, we start these little touches. These are almost never planned out. They just happen because the brain is releasing happy chemicals like oxytocin. Some people call oxytocin the hug hormone or the bonding hormone. It makes us feel trust and connection. A simple touch can make the brain release more of it. So, when a woman touches your arm or your shoulder, she might not even know why she is doing it. Her body just feels safe and happy, and that safety is the door that leads to desire. Remember this. One little touch might not mean much by itself, but a pattern of touches tells a whole story. If she keeps finding reasons to touch you, she is saying she likes being near you. If you have ever felt this happen, I want you to think about that word, touch. Just thinking about it helps you pause and look back at your own life. Sometimes the best way to learn is just to be aware. Now, let's talk about the second signal. This one is even more powerful and tells us so much more. It lives in our eyes. You have probably heard people say that the eyes are the window to the soul. That sounds like something from a poem, but science tells us it is actually very true. We send so much information through our eyes: interest, worry, attraction, and trust. Our eyes often tell the truth long before our mouth does. When a woman starts to feel a spark, the way she looks at you changes. It is not just that she looks at you more often. It is the way she looks at you. Many men think attraction means she will just stare at you, but that is not how it works. Attraction has a rhythm. She looks at you. She holds your gaze for just a beat longer than usual. Then she looks down or away, and then a few seconds later, she looks right back at you. That little cycle: look, soften, look away, and come back, is one of the quietest signs of all. What is really cool is that this happens without her even thinking about it. When we see someone we really like, our bodies do things we cannot control. One of those things is that our pupils, the black parts of our eyes, get bigger. The brain sees something it likes, and the body opens up. Now, do not go staring into her eyes with a magnifying glass. That would be very weird. The real thing to look for is the feeling. When a woman likes you, her eyes get soft. The intensity is different. Instead of the quick, polite look you give a stranger, her gaze feels warm and like she is really theirs with you. Imagine this. You are sitting across from a woman at dinner. You are telling a story that means a lot to you. As you talk, she is looking right at you with a gentle focus. She has a tiny smile. Then, maybe she looks down at her hands shyly. A second later, she is looking back at you. That is the quiet language of attraction. Experts call this the triangle gaze because the eyes move from your eyes to your mouth and back again. But when it is romantic, there is a warmth to it. It feels like she is not just hearing your words, but she is feeling the moment with you. Here is something many people forget. When a woman is attracted to you, she listens better. She notices the small things you say. She remembers them. She reacts to your stories with real emotion. That is not just being polite. It is her being truly interested in who you are. Let me give you a real-life example. A man told me about a dinner he had with a bunch of friends. There was a woman there he had just met. The room was loud, everyone was laughing, and people were talking over each other. But every time he spoke, he noticed she would turn her whole body toward him. She gave him her full attention. Every time their eyes met, she would smile, look down for a bit, and then look back. He said that even though the room was full of people, it felt like it was just the two of them. That is the power of focus. When someone looks at you like that, they are saying, "You are the most important person in this room to me right now." Attention is where attraction starts. I want you to try a little experiment. Next time you are out with people, do not just think about what you are going to say. Instead, watch how people react to you. Watch their eyes. See who looks back at you quickly and who lets their eyes stay on you for an extra second. Human beings are always talking to each other with these tiny signals. Once you see them, everything gets easier. If this is helping you, please let us know. It really helps our community grow. Now, we are ready for the third signal. This is the most powerful one of all. While touch and eye contact can sometimes happen by accident, this third sign almost always means she is doing it on purpose. It is a shift in space. Most men miss this completely, but once you see it, you will see it everywhere. When a woman's feelings are growing, she will try to create privacy where there was none before. Think about a normal party or a restaurant. People move in groups. Conversations are loud. But when a woman feels a pull toward you, she will try to pull you out of the group. Not in a big, dramatic way, but in a quiet way. She creates a little bubble for just the two of you. This is the sign most men miss. She creates privacy in a public place. This does not mean she takes you to another room. It is much smaller than that. You might be in a group, and she turns to you and says, "Come here for a second. I want to show you this." Maybe she wants to show you a picture on her phone or a view out the window. Maybe she asks you to help her get a drink. Maybe she just leans in and whispers something that only you can hear. These tiny moves might seem like nothing, but they mean everything. She is creating a micro-environment. This is a tiny space where you can connect without everyone else watching. It lets the connection grow without any pressure. For many women, feeling emotionally safe is the biggest part of attraction. Creating this little private bubble lets her see how you are when it is just the two of you. Do you stay focused on her? Do you keep that warm eye contact? Do you stay calm? It is like a gentle test. She is saying, let's see what happens if we step a little closer. Let me tell you a story about a man at a big party. There were 30 people there, music was playing, and everyone was having a good time. He had been talking to a woman off and on all night. Then she said, "Hey, come look at this photo album over here. It was just a book of vacation photos." But when they walked away from the group to the table with the book, everything changed. The energy got quiet. They talked for a long time. Later, he realized the photos did not matter at all. She just wanted to be alone with him for a few minutes. This happens all the time. Sometimes it is asking for your opinion on something away from the crowd. Sometimes it is just leaning in close so your shoulders touch. Each move makes the distance between you smaller. When there is a spark, that distance keeps shrinking. Here is the part most men miss. When she creates that private moment, she is watching to see if you notice. She wants to see if you will lean in too. She wants to see if you are comfortable. The most attractive thing you can do is just be there. Do not panic. Do not try to rush things. Just enjoy the little bubble she created. When you start to recognize these three signals, touch, eye contact, and privacy, you do not have to feel confused anymore. You just stay present and let things happen naturally. Now, have you ever had this happen? Has someone ever asked you to step aside to see something? If so, you are seeing the third signal. Understanding these things is not about playing games. It is about being aware. Relationships are so much easier when you can read the natural way people show they like you. You do not have to guess. You do not have to force it. You just watch and respond. We love exploring these patterns of how we all connect. When you understand these three signals, you start seeing chances for connection that you used to walk right past. Now that we have talked about touch, eyes, and privacy, let's take a deep breath. None of these things are loud. None of them are big shouts. That is why people miss them. Attraction does not usually start with big fireworks. It starts with a little bit of curiosity, a soft look, or a small moment where two people feel more aware of each other than anyone else. It is easy to miss these things if you are worried about what to say next. But when you start to look, you will see attraction is happening all around you. You will see it in how someone leans in, how they laugh, or how they look at you from across a room. These are the whispers of connection. Confidence does not come from having the perfect lines to say. It comes from knowing what is happening. When you know what is going on, you stop guessing. You just respond to the energy that is already there. That is so powerful. But knowing the signals is only half of it. The other half is how you act. When she touches your arm, you do not need to be a detective. Just stay there with her. When she looks at you, just smile back. When she creates a private moment, do not rush. Just be there. Being relaxed and friendly is the most attractive way to be. Think of your best talks. They were not forced. They just flowed. That ease is what makes a spark grow. Attraction is not something you have to hunt down. It is something you see and take care of when it shows up. That is why being aware is so big. You stop trying to make things happen and you start noticing what is already happening. You stop trying to impress her and you just start connecting. Let me tell you one last quick story. A man thought he was bad at meeting people. He thought you had to be a movie star to get noticed. But one day at a coffee shop, he started talking to a woman. It was just a simple talk, but he noticed she touched his arm. He noticed she kept looking at him and smiling. Then she asked if he wanted to sit at a quieter table. She did all three things for the first time. He saw it. He did not overthink it. He just sat with her and talked for an hour. He told me later, I didn't feel like I was trying. I just saw what was happening. That is what we want for you. Clarity brings a calm kind of confidence. So, here is my challenge for you. Next time you are out, just watch. Notice who turns toward you. Notice who looks at you a little longer. Notice who tries to keep the talk going. You will be amazed at how much people say without speaking. If this helped you, we would love to have you stay with our community of caring experts. We talk about all the deep ways people get along. And if you have seen these signals before, maybe write the word whispers to let us know you understand. At the end of the day, it is all about understanding people and the quiet ways they show they care. When you see those signals, you stop feeling lost. You see when a connection is starting. So next time you feel that light touch, or see that soft look, or someone makes a little space for just you, just pause, enjoy it, because that is where the magic starts. It is a beautiful thing when two people finally see each other through the noise of the world. Just keep your eyes open and your heart ready, and you will see these whispers everywhere you go. Thank you for spending this time with us today. It means a lot to share these human moments with you. We hope you feel a little more confident the next time you step out into the world. Remember, you do not have to be perfect. You just have to be present. That is the greatest gift you can give yourself and anyone you meet. Until we talk again, keep being kind to yourself and keep looking for those beautiful, quiet signals of connection.